Hey Ravenswood, how you doing? This is John, and as we go along here, I'm going to be continuing to fill up the Distance Learning Ravenswood YouTube channel with hopefully helpful videos as you do your distance learning teaching. So let's get right into it. Right now, we're going to go right into what I think are some of the most confusing parts about getting all of your equipment set up, whether you're at home or school, wherever you are, for distance learning. And that is all the different connectors for your computers and for your monitors. So we're going to get right into it. As you can see on your screen in the upper left-hand corner, you're looking at me, I'm talking to you. And then down here, I actually have a dot cam that I'm using to show you the different connectors. So I'm going to leave my webcam up, but you'll kind of see I'll just be looking down like this at the connector. So hopefully that's not distracting and that works for you. All right, let's get right into it. All right, the first thing is USB, okay? And we're not going to get into the acronyms because it doesn't really matter. We just need to be able to use this stuff. Okay, so USB is one of the major connectors that we use for our computers and our phones and all that kinds of stuff. But there's a lot of different equipment across the district, and a lot of them use all kinds of different connectors. So what you can do now is you can pause a YouTube video for a minute and actually go get all the different kind of connectors, whether they be USB, anything that you have with you that you're going to use to connect your dot cams, your laptops, or your screens. Go pause the video, go get them, and bring them here. And maybe even have a piece of scratch paper and a pencil there so you can make a note of what you have as we go through, because that'll help in the next videos when I actually talk about hooking this stuff up and then setting them up with Zoom so you can switch back and forth when you're teaching. All right, so let's get right into it. Our USB connectors, we're going to talk about 4 of them that we use in our district equipment: USB A, B, C, and Mini. All right, so let's get to the most basic. This is probably the one we're most familiar, and as you can see, I'm going to use my dot cam. I am going to use the zoom function so you get a really good look at this stuff. This is your standard USB or USB-A. All right, that's what it looks like on the other end. All right, obviously it connects, and even I, after all these years, get it confused. USB-A connector. All right, laptops and that kind of thing. All right, simple enough. Now, next, let's talk about our USB-B. Generally, this is on the other end of your USB-A. This might go into the printer. It could go to a number of other things. Most of you are probably familiar with this going into a printer. This would go into the laptop or computer. This would go into the printer. I bring this up because several of you have these on your dot cams, and I happen to have one right here. So as you can see, this dot cam accepts this USB connector. Boom, goes in like that. You're going to use this when you're hooking your dot cam up to use it in your distance learning. So you're going to be hooking it up to your laptop. In that case, this would go into the laptop. USB-B right here would go into the dot cam. Now, we're going to skip over C for a minute, and we're going to go to USB Mini, because the other dot cams have USB Mini. Now take a look at this. It's much smaller. Some of you might recognize it if you ever had a BlackBerry, or for a while Samsung or Android phones were using this. All right, and the other dot cams have this USB Mini. There, you see it a little better. All right, like that. All right, and they go in, boom, like that. Those are generally the 2 dot cam connections, but connectors you need to be familiar with. All right, so we've already done our USB-A, USB-B, and our USB Mini. All right, now the last USB we're going to talk about are ones that are a little newer. I'm going to zoom in again. USB-C. New Samsung phones have this. Many of the laptops have this. All right. This is the USB-C. Get a good look at it there. And that is what accepts USB-C. All right. USB-C is going to be used on the newer laptops. For those of you who have the EliteBook, you may be using this. This is also used for power in some laptops. Okay. So that is our USB. Those are our connectors. A, B, our mini, and then C. And I skip and use C last because this is the newest one, and you're going to be seeing more and more of this C. Now, I'm going to segue on to talking about the USB-C, what we call a dongle. Dongle is basically a connector or adapter, usually in some form of a box. They can also look like this with just one connector on the end that enables you to connect one device to another. For some of you, not many of you, have the HP EliteBook laptop that you're using. Some come with this dongle. As you can see, it's got the USB. Actually, let me zoom in a little bit. All right, and as you can see, you've got the USB. You connect this part into your computer, and then it allows you to utilize all the other connections. Now, you should recognize, as we said, that this on this dongle, you have a USB-C. Then you see the two standard USB-A connectors. But let's talk about these other two that we see here, because these are video connectors that are the next thing I'm going to talk about. So let me switch my paper over. And let's talk about our video connectors. So as you can see, I have laid out here kind of different versions of them. For video, and this is generally, you're going to be connecting your monitors in this way. So this is very much a monitor. These are monitor formats that you're connecting. DisplayPort, HDMI, and what most of you are probably most familiar with is the blue VGA. Okay, so let's start with VGA. So if I go back to the dongle and I zoom back in a little bit, all right, this is that blue VGA connector. Many of you are probably used to connecting your dock cams or your monitors with this VGA cable, and we will do that in upcoming videos. My next video will be actually connecting all this stuff up. Okay, now let's go on to the next one. All right, the next one you see here is HDMI. All right, many of you might have these on your monitors. Most likely you've seen this with TVs at home. All right, boom, like that, HDMI. Okay, now I'm going to leave HDMI up here because the next one I'm going to go to is DisplayPort, because DisplayPort and HDMI look very, very similar. So let's take a look at these closely. Make sure they're in focus here. There they are. All right, so as you can see, this inner part looks very similar, but the main difference is DisplayPort has this right angle here and this angle cornered on this side, whereas HDMI has two angled corners. All right, and if we look at the receptacles or the female ends, you can see that this is where the DisplayPort goes, like that, and this is, let me get it in a better place here, an HDMI connector. So you should be able to see the difference. Take a look at that. This is HDMI up here, and this is the DisplayPort. Some of you might recognize this big piece here is your dock, and many of you are going to have the older Revolve laptops that you're going to use this DisplayPort connector. And while we're talking about that, all right, you'll see that this is actually a dongle used to go into the back of a dock or back of a Revolve laptop with the screen that spins around, and then on the other end you go to the VGA, or you would use the VGA connector and then to your screen. Alright, so one more time, just because they're so close. Take a look at this. Is the display port down here with the one corner that's a 90-degree and the other corner that's an angle, and then the HDMI up here that has the two angled corners on one side. Alright, so those are basically all the connectors that we're going to use. And these are the terms that we covered. We covered USB, A, B, C, and Mini, and then our video DisplayPort HDMI and VGA. Alright, so hopefully you were able to identify the connectors that you use for your devices, and go ahead to the next video in the playlist, and I'm going to talk about using these connectors and connecting your devices that you're going to use for distance learning. Alright, thanks.